Hello and welcome to your next practice. So you will need a strap, and as you know by now, you can make a makeshift strap out of maybe an old necktie or something like this. And we will start today's practice in a seated position. So crossing the legs at the shins, walking the heels out underneath the knees into what is called in yoga easy sitting pose, Sukhasana. But it's not so easy for everybody. So if you find the knees are very high up or you find it hard to walk the ankles out any further, then you can elevate the seat onto a block or a blanket or a cushion. What's really important is that we're finding this upright spine and that our spine is perpendicular to the floor. So maybe you'd like to move the flesh of the buttocks out to the side and find the sitting bones so that you really feel perched up onto the front edge of these sitting bones. The shoulders then stack above the hips. Essentially, the skull, the rib cage, and the pelvis are sitting on top of each other, one stacked on top of the other. And we have a degree of length in the spine. You might even put the hand on the crown of the head and press up into it, feeling that elongation, or what's known as axial elongation, length through the spine. The shoulders move in the opposite direction as we sink the tops of the shoulders away from the ears. Hands in the lap, slide the elbows back underneath the shoulders. Palms can face down if you want to feel grounded and go in. Palms can face up if you want to feel more receptive and open. Maybe touching the tip of the index finger to the tip of the thumb. This is a gesture known as a mudra. So once you feel settled in this position, you can close your eyes, or you can pick a spot on the floor to gaze softly at, or you can gaze at the tip of the nose. Settle. Relax. By relax, I don't mean slouch. I mean bring the mind to a more centered and grounded place. And the easiest way to do this, in my opinion, is to just become aware of what is in your current experience. Become aware of what is in your current experience, be that your own breath, be that sounds, be that the temperature of the room that you're in, the sensations of your clothing on your skin, and the sensations within your physical body. Any or all of these things will take your attention from time to time. But when they are in your current experience, you are in the present. If, for example, you start to feel a sensation in your right shoulder and you start to think about how you would like to go get a massage later, or how you would like to relax and lie down on the couch, that's when we've moved to the future. We're thinking why we have the right shoulder. We didn't sleep so well last night, for example. Maybe that's when we're in the past. So instead, we notice the sensation in the right shoulder, for example, and we just acknowledge it. It is there. It might not be there later, but right now we just notice it. So spend a few moments now noticing. Just be present to your own current experience. And now pay particular attention to just your breath. You don't have to change the breath in any way. Just notice your own breath. Now let's deepen and lengthen the breath. So notice how long it takes you to take a natural inhale. And then see, can you exhale for at least 2 counts longer, up to twice as long. So maybe your inhale is 4 seconds. You'll breathe out for 6 to 8 seconds, for example. Tune into your own breath. Extend your breath for 2 to double the amount of time that you inhale. Take one more breath in this fashion. At the end of your exhale, hold your breath out for your own count of 5 seconds. Then let your natural breath return. And then relax the position. So you might want to slide your hands forward. You can move the body any way you like. If you want to blink open the eyes, blink open the eyes. We're going to start moving the body from the top down. So still in this seated position, we're going to move the head through all its range of motion. So first we'll bring the chin down and back, create a double chin, and then lift the chin up towards the ceiling. Just 2 more like this. 1 more. Chin is parallel to the floor, right ear, right shoulder. Left ear, left shoulder. Right ear, right shoulder. Left ear, left shoulder. Right ear, right shoulder. Left ear, left shoulder. Back up to center. Look over right shoulder. Look over left shoulder. Look over right shoulder. Look over left shoulder. Look over right shoulder. Look over left shoulder. Come back to center. Now from here, bring the chin back down towards the throat, and we're going to bring the chin over towards the outer edge of the right collarbone, and then over towards the outer edge of the left collarbone. Tracing the collarbones like your chin is drawing a smile. Over to your left. Over to your right. Over to your left. Let's do 1 more. Over to the right. Over to the left. This time go over to the right and then let the right ear sink towards the right shoulder. Turn the chin back towards the right shoulder and come all the way over to the left. Turn the left ear towards the left shoulder. Chin goes back towards left shoulder. Go to your right. Right ear down. Chin goes back to right shoulder. Go over to your left. Left ear down. 1 more time back to your right. Right ear down. 1 more time over to your left. Left ear down. Come back to center. And now interlace your fingers behind your neck. This is just a safe way of doing the extension. So we lift the nose and then move the head through a great big rotation. Change direction. Back to stillness. Great. Release your arms down. Change the cross of your legs, so the opposite legs on top. You may need to sit up on a block on this side because it's not as familiar to you. You probably are used to crossing one leg in front of the other and maybe using that seated position more often. Maybe, or maybe you're very balanced on both sides. So again, if you want to move the flesh of the buttocks to find the sitting bones, feel free to do so. We're going to work with thoracic spine rotations. So essentially what's going to happen is we're going to move the breastbone through a great big circle, but we're going to try and keep the pelvis very still. So just like we did with the neck, we're actually going to piece together these movements. We'll do one by one and then put them all together. So I like to cross my arms in front of my chest so that my hands rest on the opposite shoulders. My right hand is on my left shoulder. My left hand is on my right shoulder. Lengthen through the spine. Keep the sit bones pointing down. So you may have to really engage the pelvic floor, the buttocks, the lower abdominals. So essentially we have the front edge of the sitting bone feeling the sensation of the mat below it. We're not rocking the pelvis forward and back, nor are we rocking the pelvis side to side. So feel into that and try and maintain and sustain it. As you round your upper and middle back, you're looking down towards the floor. And then breastbone will lift up towards the ceiling. Keep your chin down. We want to make this about your middle spine. Rounding the upper back, middle back, and then lifting breastbone to ceiling. Rounding the upper back, middle back, lifting breastbone to ceiling. Just 2 more. Come back to a neutral position and we'll side bend. So we'll move all the way over to the right, but the left buttock doesn't lift off the floor. Come back up center and side bend to your left. Come back up center, side bend to your right. Come back up center, side bend to your left. Back up center, side bend to your right. Back up center, side bend to your left. Back up center, side bend to your right. Back up center, go left. And then 1 more either side. Now we'll round the spine again. And we'll do a little rotation side to side. So the pelvis stays very still. And you're just rotating your breastbone over towards your right hip. And come back center. Rotate your breastbone over towards your left hip. Come back center. Right, center, left. Center, right, center, left. Center, right, center, left. Center, 1 more, right, center, left, center. Come back up to your neutral position. So we're going to change the cross of the arms. We're going to move through all of our range of motions. So you might want to watch me for this one and listen, and then we'll practice it together. We'll go 3 times in one direction, 3 times in another. So I'm going to try and take my neck out of it because we've done our neck already. So I'm going to tuck my chin down towards my throat. I'm going to round my upper and middle spine. I'm going to rotate to the right, side bend to the right. Then we'll roll into extension, keep the pelvis in neutral. We'll side bend over to the left, rotate to the left, and then come back to the center. Let's do this together. So round down and rotate to your right, side bend to your right. Move into extension, lifting the breastbone. Not overarching the low back though. Side bend to your left, rotate to your left, and come back to center. 2 more. Next time you're at center, change direction. Rotate to your left, side bend to your left, extend. Breastbone to ceiling, side bend to your right, rotate to your right, and move back into flexion, rounding the spine. And again, going to your left, rotate, side bend, extend, side bend, rotate, flex. 1 more. Come back up to center. Release your arms. Great. This time we're going to stretch the legs out in front. We'll separate the legs just as wide as your mat. So the heels on the outer edge of the mat. Flex the feet. Feel like you're trying to draw the heels back towards the buttocks. We're going to churn the mill, but not in a big wide movement with the legs, as in the legs aren't extended too far away from each other. We're making it a bit smaller just to explore what that feels like. So maybe again we want to find the sitting bones by moving the flesh of the buttocks out to the side. Maybe we need to sit on a block. That's up to you. You know your body better than me. Reach the arms forward, plug the upper arms back into the shoulder sockets. We're going to hinge forward at the hips, reach out, reach out, reach out. We're going to the left first. So imagine that you're moving your hands over that left leg as far as you can. Lean back and you're stirring a great big pot coming in over the right. Let's do this 4 more times in this direction. And the next time you go center and forward, change direction 5 times. And come back up, shoulders stack above the hips. Okay. We're going to bend the knees, plant the soles of the feet on the floor, but walk the hands back behind you a bit. Lengthen your breastbone up so that you're pushing the floor away. So if you did a previous hip practice where we were windscreen wiping the knees when we had our back on the floor, now we're going to do it from this seated position. So both knees go over to your right hand side and you can allow your left hip to lift a little bit and then come back up, and then both knees go over to your left. You can allow your right hip to lift a little bit and then down into your right and down into your left. And I'm not too strict about what's happening in the pelvis here. I'm allowing one hip to lift for now. One more to your left and then come back up to the center. So if you've moved your feet forward in the rocking motion, you can just take the heels back. So remember that the feet are as wide as your mat, if not even wider. Remember, you're leaning back into your hands, but you're using your arms so that we're not just collapsing down with the shoulders up around the ears. So this time, my right leg is going to open to the side into external rotation. Keep the left knee where it is, but you might even move the left knee away. Imagine you're opening and stretching a big elastic band. Then we're going to keep the left sit bone on the ground, so we're not moving the pelvis, and we'll move the left leg into an internal rotation. Just see how much you have. So left buttock is not lifting, left sit bone is not lifting. Then we can move all the way over and I'll allow my sit bone to lift, and I'm going to press both knees into the floor on the right. Then keep my right knee down, my left leg lifts up. Stretch them away from each other. Then left sit bone goes back down. My right knee might lift off the floor. Mine does, yours might not. But keep a great deal of space between both knees. Then bring the right knee back up to a neutral position. Let the left knee go down. So right buttock stays on the floor. And then stretch both knees away from each other. And then bring the right leg into an internal rotation, but keep right buttock down. Then allow yourself to roll all the way over. Maybe your right buttock needs to lift now. Then lift right leg. Put right sit bone back down. Left knee might lift a little. Bring left knee back up to neutral. Right knee goes down, but don't lift left buttock. Then left knee moves into an internal rotation. Then I'm allowing my left buttock to lift if it needs to as I bring both knees over to the right. Bring my left knee back up to a neutral position. Let my left sit bone go back to the floor. My right knee might lift, but I'm moving my knees away from each other. My right knee comes back up to neutral. My left knee goes down, but I don't move my pelvis. My left knee goes further. My right knee moves into an internal rotation. Try and keep your right hip down. Then I'm rolling all the way over to the left. Right knee lifts, right sit bone moves down. Move both knees away from each other. Left knee comes back up to neutral. Right knee moves down. Left sit bone's on the floor. Right knee goes down. Move your knees away from each other. And then allow both knees to sink to the right. Left knee comes up. Move both knees away from each other. Right knee comes up as the left sit bone goes down. Left knee goes down, but we don't lift right sit bone. Right knee internal rotation, don't lift right sit bone. Both knees down, I can lift right sit bone. Right knee up. Right hip down. Left knee up. And we'll pause there. Okay, come back into the Dandasana staff pose position with the shoulders stacked above the hips and the legs lengthened out in front. We're going to take our strap. And you take the strap a good deal wider than your shoulders so that your arms are extended out and you have straight elbows and you're pulling on the strap. So I would say that we have the strap a good foot wider than the width of our shoulders. Sitting up onto those sit bones, remember that we have an upright spine. Let's think about the movement our shoulder blades can do. So pull on the strap, shoulder blades move forward into protraction as if you're trying to pull your shoulder blade around the side of the cage of your ribs. And now to pull the shoulder blades back into retraction as if you're trying to squeeze the two shoulder blades together. Forward and back. Forward and back. And then just allow the shoulder blades to sit on the cage of the ribs. So we're not moving forward, we're not moving back, we find that midpoint. And then we learn to elevate our shoulder blades up towards our ears and sink our shoulder blades down towards our back pockets. Elevate shoulders up, sink shoulder blades down. Elevate up, depress down. One more, up and down. Find the neutral position in between the two. This time we're going to do what's called shoulder dislocates. So we'll move the shoulder blades forward, pull on the strap, elevate the shoulders up as we lift the strap up above the head. Retract the shoulder blades back and then bring the strap down. Try not to pop your ribs forward here. You can relax in this retracted and depressed position and then move back, up, forward and down. Forward, up, back, and down. Back, up, forward, and down. Forward, up, back, and down. Back, up, forward, and down. One more, up, back, down. Up, forward, down. Well done. You can put your strap aside for now. So from here, we'll be moving on to all fours to warm up the wrists and the elbows. You may need your strap later, so leave it somewhere that it is accessible to you. So you might just sweep the feet behind or taking your own weight to come to an all fours position. Tops of the feet on the floor, knees underneath the hips, hands on the floor, wrists underneath your shoulders, and then maybe create just a little bit more space. Walk the heel of the hand slightly forward of your armpit. Spread your fingers nice and wide, ground down into each and every finger. And really feel like that as the fingers press down, we make this little suction cup in the center of the palm, pressing the outer edges of the palm firmly into the floor. So first, let's just set up our all fours start position. Lift your toes off the floor. And then press the feet down. 10 out of 10, the knees will lift and put the knees back down. Lift the feet off the floor and press down 5 out of 10 and just feel the sensation in your legs. Lift the feet off the floor and now press down 2 out of 10. And that's the amount of pressure I'd like you to maintain and sustain. Then, just noticing the pelvis. Are we overarching low back? Are we over rounding low back? Can you be in a position where the sacrum, the bony part underneath the freely movable parts of the spine, is level? You could put a nice cup of coffee up there and you won't spill a drop. Then we lengthen the spine. Remember axial elongation? Our shoulder blades could move back into retraction, forward into protraction, and then they find their place on the cage of the ribs. The back of the neck is moving up towards the ceiling, the back of the head also, so that we're not allowing the head, which could be 8 pounds, quite heavy, to sink down. We keep a degree of stability. Now let's move forward and back in our wrist warm-up, planche position, forward and back, forward and back, forward and back. 2 more please, forward and back. Last one, forward and back. Take the shoulders back above the wrists, and this time we're just going to circle. So we're circling the shoulders around the wrists and the knees, the hips around the knees. Change direction. And back to stillness. So from here, we are going to feel into our buttocks and outer hip. We are going to take our strap and we're going to place it behind the right knee. You're going to make sure it stays in there, and you're going to not hike up your right hip, but feel like the musculature all around your right hip joints are just sucking the femur up into it. So still, we have a neutral pelvis, neutral spine, flat low back. I like to take my left hand up onto my sacrum to make sure my low back stays nice and still. But if that's too much, you can please place your hand on the floor and just sense this position. In fact, if you wanted, you could put a block or a cushion up there so that you have more sensory perception of this part of the body. So let's do this together. So right hand pressing firmly into the floor. We make sure that the strap is secured in behind the right knee. And maybe we're taking the left hand to the sacrum to make sure that the pelvis stays level. We draw the femur up into the hip socket and then begin to make circles, like I'm drawing a great big circle with my right knee. 2, 3, 4, 5. Change direction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well done. Put the strap back down. Put the knee back down, should I say. Put the strap away for a moment. And then we're going to work into some rotation in the waist before we move on to the other side. So right hand is in a fist and we take the right hand onto the breastbone. Again, we want to maintain that the pelvis stays very neutral and the rotation is going to come from our waist. So if we start to lean to one side, we've lost the integrity of that idea. So take your right hand to your breastbone, lengthen through the spine. Remember, we still have 2 out of 10 person feet into the floor. And now rotate to your right as if you're trying to point your right elbow to the ceiling. It may or may not get there, but keep your hips level. And then come back down to where you started. 4 more like that. Rotate to the right and back down. Rotate to the right and back down. Rotate to the right and back down. 1 more. Rotate to the right and back down. Lovely. Right hand goes back to the floor. We're going to take the strap behind the left knee. Squeeze the strap. Maybe you want your right hand on your sacrum. Maybe you don't. Make sure that the pelvis is neutral. Sit bones pointing straight back. Long spine. Feel strong. Lift that femur up into the hip socket and then circle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Change direction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Release. Putting the strap to one side. Then left hand into a fist, left hand to your breastbone. We make sure the sacrum stays level. We rotate to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Release. Take your left hand back down. Curl your toes under. And we'll meet our fresh downward facing dog. So press the buttocks back a wee bit. Lift your knees off the floor. Press the chest and belly back towards the thighs. Lengthen through the backs of the legs. Heels don't need to come to the floor. Keep space between the biceps and your ears. Keep lengthening your spine back as if you want your sit bones now to touch the space where the ceiling and the wall meet behind you. If you feel tight in the backs of the legs, walking the dog is nice. One heel touches down, the other knee bends. Walk the dog. And then come down until your knees are just hovering above the floor, just hovering above the floor. Lengthen through your spine. Make sure that the head isn't collapsing down. Hold the position for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Back up to down dog. Knees come down. They hover just above the floor. So the knees pretty much are in line with the ankles. Hold. And back up to your down dog. This time, come down, knees are just above the floor. Lift your left foot off the floor. Keep the right knee exactly where it is. Squeeze your left heel towards your left buttock. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Keep left heel up. Down dog just on right leg. Extend out left leg. So now we're in a 3-legged dog. Bring your left leg back down. Then knees come down towards the floor. Right foot lifts. Hold. Squeeze your right heel towards your right buttock. Back up to a 3-legged dog. Extend out right leg. This time you're bringing the knee all the way in towards the chest. Maybe coming up in the fingertips of the right hand and send right foot forward until right ankle's underneath right knee. Lengthen your spine. So we're in this high lunge position with the fingertips still on the floor. Walk your left foot to the center of your mat. Sink down left heel. So the little toe side of the foot is in line with the back of the mat. Or maybe you can draw your heel to point towards the back corner on the right hand side. So that's your choice, and it really does depend on what feels better for you. So check in, and then we're going to come up to a warrior 2 position. So left hand is going to move back like the reverse of a cartwheel, and we come all the way up. Right arm reaching straight forward of right shoulder, left arm reaching straight back of left shoulder, and take your pelvis to a neutral position so that we haven't hiked up the left hip too high. The right knee is above your right ankle, and we make sure that the center of the knee is tracking in line with the outer side of the second toe. Maybe you'd like some more space. We can walk that front foot forward, absolutely no problem. What we're not doing is arching the spine forward or leaning out with that front hand. The chin is pointing towards the middle finger of the right hand. And then I'm going to let you enjoy this warrior pose for a few breaths. Now straighten right leg. Palms face towards your left hand side. You may even take your left hand down to your left hip if that feels good. And then, without locking out the right knee, we feel a degree of press of the right foot into the floor. The left hip might lift up slightly. So if the left hand is on left hip, we're going to press the left hip into the left hand. And then reach forward, reach forward, reach forward towards the front of the mat as if you're trying to take your right hand beyond the front of your mat. Then we're going to take the right hand about halfway down right shin, so we don't want to go too far. And then rotate the breastbone towards the ceiling. If left hand is on left hip, left shoulder draws back, left elbow is pointing at ceiling. Or maybe we want to take the left hand up towards the ceiling with the palm facing the same direction as your breastbone. Depending on how it feels for the neck, we might look straight forward, we might look down, we might look up towards the top hand. Then lengthen either from the fingertips of the right hand to the left elbow or fingertips of the right hand to left fingertips. Lengthen and open the space between your two collarbones. Maintain this position, Trikonasana, triangle pose. Come back up to warrior two now. So we're bending the right knee and we're reaching right arm forward, left arm back once more. Like a cartwheel, the back hand will sweep down towards the floor. The left heel lifts. We walk the left foot back out so the left heel is in line with the left hip joint, and we step back to downward facing dog, should I say. Solid downward dog, sit bones lifting, spine lengthening. Knees hover off the floor. Back up to downward dog. Knees hover off the floor. Back up to downward dog. Knees hover off the floor. Right foot lifts, right heel comes in towards right buttock. We lift up the buttocks and we extend out right leg. Three-legged dog, right leg lifted. Right foot comes back to the floor. The knees hover off the floor. And we go back up to downward dog. The knees hover off the floor. We go back up to downward dog. The knees hover off the floor and we lift the left heel and we squeeze it towards left buttock. We then find three-legged dog, left leg lifted. Left knee pulls in towards the chest, left foot steps to the front of the mat. Right foot steps to the center of the mat, right heel drops down. Little toe side of the foot in line with the back of the mat or heel facing towards the left back corner. Remember the reverse cartwheel, so right hand is going to lift us all the way up into a warrior two. Left arm reaching forward, right arm reaching back. Front knee stacked above the ankle. Center of the kneecap in line with the outer second toe. Make sure that we're not leaning forward. Make sure we haven't hiked up the right hip in this case. Hold the position. Enjoy. Straighten your front left leg, palms facing to your right now. So you could take your right hand to your right hip and feel your hip press back into that hand. Left hip is a little lower than your right hip here. Both legs are strong as they press it down into the floor as we reach forward, reach forward, reach forward, reach forward. And then we take left hand about halfway down left shin. So left elbow is pointing up towards the ceiling, or we can right elbow is pointing up towards the ceiling, or we can raise the right arm up. Press your hips forward, press your shoulders back so the spine is in one line. We don't want a big rainbow arch in the top ribs. We want to keep them pretty flat and level. And then maybe we're looking up towards that top hand to challenge the balance. Come back up to your warrior two now. Feel the flesh of the thighs roll outwards. Feel the femurs roll externally in the hip joint. Cartwheel the back hand down to the floor. Lift your right heel. Right foot steps back in line with right hip. Back to your downward dog. You can stay in downward dog, or you might take child's pose, or join me. Knees hover off the floor. Long spine. Back up to your downward dog. Knees hover off the floor. Back up to your downward dog. If you stayed in downward dog or you took child's pose, join me for this one. Knees hover off the floor. Left foot lifts. Back to three-legged dog. Lift the pelvis, straighten out left leg. Now we're going for flip dog. So externally rotate, so the left toes point out to the left. Remove the hip to the left. Squeeze your left heel towards your right bum cheek and lift your knee as high away from the floor as you can. Now we keep the breastbone pointing down if we can. Keep weight equal through both hands. It's the knee that's lifting. The knee is lifting. The knee is lifting. And then return to your three-legged dog. And then put left foot back on the floor. Right leg's turned. So we bring both knees down towards the floor. You might want to take a break in downward dog or child's pose. Back up to your downward dog. Both knees down towards the floor. Back up to your downward dog. This time if you took a break, you're joining back in. Knees down. Right heel lifts. Hold. Three-legged dog. Right leg's your long leg. Open right hip. Flip dog. So you take the right knee towards the ceiling, right heel towards right buttock. Press both hands equally into the floor. And then let's rearrange. So pelvis is neutral. We extend right leg and then we pull right knee towards the chest and step forward. The left foot comes back to the center of the mat. Maybe angling the ankle back towards the right hand back corner, or maybe little toe side of the foot is in line with the back of the mat. We're going to cartwheel up to our warrior two. Right leg being the front leg, right arm being the front arm. Hold the position. If you want more length, walk that front foot forward. I always like to take that option. This time, we're going to take a dynamic variation of extreme side angle. So right elbow bends and right palm faces up. But we're just going to hover right arm. We're not touching right arm onto the right thigh. The left palm faces up. We're going to reach left arm up and over our left ear. So left bicep is above left ear. Rib cage is rolling towards the ceiling. And then float back up to your warrior two. Remember your right elbow and right forearm are not touching right thigh. Again, move into your balancing and active variation of the side angle pose. Come back up. We're going to do 3 more like this. So over, reaching left arm over left ear and back up. Reaching left arm over left ear and back up. We just have 1 more. Reach left arm over left ear. Come back up. Cartwheel both hands back to the floor. Move the left foot back so it's in line with the left hip. Step back to your downward dog. You guessed it, you either get a break in downward dog or child's pose, or you bring your knees to the floor. We're in this floating table. And we go back up. And then the knees come back to the floor. We're in our floating table. And we come back up. This time we come down. The right knee lifts. The right heel comes towards the right buttock. And then we go to 3-legged dog, right leg. And then from here we're going to flip dog, right leg. 3-legged dog, pelvis in neutral. Right foot back to the floor. Knees down. Back up to downward dog. Take a break if you need to, or knees down, hover off the floor. Back up to downward dog. Knees down, hover off the floor. Join me if you've taken a break. Lift left heel towards left buttock. Back up to a downward dog stance. Extend out left leg, 3-legged dog. Flip dog. Lift your left knee up. Press it up. Squeeze your heel towards right buttock. Take it back, neutral pelvis, 3-legged dog. And then step the left foot forward. Right foot to the center of the mat, right heel touches down, maybe right heel is pointing towards the back left hand corner. Let's come all the way up to warrior two. Lengthening out the arms. Allow your body to make any adjustment so you feel balanced and stable. And here we go, we're doing our dynamic variation of side angle. So left arm bends, palm faces up, right palm faces up. Reach over, hover the left forearm off the left thigh and come back up. And again. And back up. And again. And back up. 2 more. And back up. Last one. And back up. Cartwheel hands down to the floor. Downward facing dog. You guessed it. Knees down, hover. Back up. Knees down, hover. They're getting easier, no? Back up. This time, knees down. Let the knees go all the way to the mat. Tops of the feet down. Press the feet down this time, 5 out of 10. Lengthen your spine. Just find a really solid, stable, all fours position. And then relax. So we're going to move into pigeon pose. Walk your hands even further forward. I'm going to allow you to take a passive pigeon rather than an active pigeon today. So maybe you need a block, you might do. So if you want to grab a block or a cushion and have it on your right hand side, feel free. So right knee will move to the back of the right wrist. And then right foot just crosses over. I'd like you to go halfway so that your right ankle is in line with your right shin is diagonal. So that from the heel to the knee there's a diagonal line. I don't want you to bring your right heel too close to the left wrist yet. So curl the back toes under and begin to walk your left knee back. And just pause when you're about halfway back. And just hold this position. Press right shin down into the floor. And lengthen through your spine as if you're lifting your breastbone away from your belly button. And maybe this is where you'd like to stay. And in this case, you would be supporting yourself underneath the right buttock with a cushion or a block. Or we're going to go a little deeper. So we're going to walk that left knee back further. And try not to sink over to the right hand side, but instead feel like both sit bones are equally sinking down towards the mat. Spend a moment here, lift your breastbone. And then maybe you have a little bit more in you. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Now, if you want to get that front leg straighter, what we do is we flex the right foot and we bring right knee back just a little. And then the left knee goes back more. And then right knee goes back more. And left knee goes back more. Until eventually your front shin would be closer to being parallel to the front of the mat. But that's not easy for everyone and it's not even achievable for many body types. So it's not you don't have to struggle to do that. You want to feel a degree of work in the hips, but never pain and never feel like you're compressing bone on bone. So lengthen through your spine. And now we're going to go down for a nice relaxing pigeon. So we're going to, relaxing, say I. Take the forearms to the ground, lift the breastbone forward. Only relaxing for some, but beneficial for all. We keep the breastbone lifted. We pull the elbows back towards the hips. And then you might want to stay here. If you want to put a block underneath your forehead, feel free. Or maybe you'd like to go a little deeper, just reaching the arms out and taking the forward to the floor. Let's just stay here for a little while. This position you can relax passively, let gravity do the work. Lift your head, take your hands back underneath your shoulders. Activate your legs again, so press the legs into the floor before you do anything else. Just feel your legs are strong again. And then curl the back toes under and walk that knee in slowly. Maybe you want to take a break and activate the legs again. and then walk a little deeper. When your back knee is close to being underneath your back hip, we're going to send the right knee back to where it started. Now, if you did a lot of shifting and moving, you might want to walk a little bit further forward on your mat. You might want to walk your block over to the left-hand side. So the hands go a good deal forward of the shoulders. The left knee comes to the back of the left wrist. Left foot about halfway between right wrist and right knee. Curl your right toes under. Walk back. About halfway, so we're not feeling our first edge yet. We just go a little bit. Top of the foot on the floor, we lift the bar down. And then maybe even just one step more. Maybe you want to support yourself here with the block underneath left buttock so that you're not sinking to the left side. Maybe you want to go a little deeper, walk back again, and just feel both sit bones equally sitting down towards the floor. Maybe you want to go a little deeper. Just trust your own wisdom. Please don't try to get any deeper than is necessary for you. I want you to feel like you're working, but I don't want you to feel like you're moving yourself into something just because your ego thinks that it's necessary. It's not necessary. So we're just finding this point that's about 6 out of 10. We're not at a point where we feel like we're about to either collapse or explode. And then maybe I want to flex my left foot and move my left knee back and my right knee back. Left knee back, right knee back. Maybe you want to go deeper. This is okay for me. Extend through my spine and then down into my forearms. Activate my legs and then relax them. Lift my breastbone forward. Choose, do I want to stay on my forearms with a block underneath my forehead? Do I want to stay on my forearms with my head lifted slightly? Do I want to go the whole way to the floor? Lifting back up. Before you do anything, activate your legs. Feel like you're squeezing the knees towards each other. Then curl the back toes under and walk that knee in a little bit. Keep activating the legs from time to time and then walk a little deeper. And eventually we can take the left knee back to where it started. Wonderful. We're going to simply sit down now. And we're going to move through some really strong core work and balance work, keeping the pelvis as neutral as possible. So firstly, we need to find the sit bones. So move the flesh of the buttocks out to the side. It's not necessary that you will be sitting perpendicular with the shoulders stacked above the hips, but I do want you to feel like the pelvis is neutral, which means I'm not overarching my low back, nor am I over rounding my low back. My sit bones are pointing straight down. My 10th rib is in line with the front of my hip, and my shoulders are relaxed. Okay. Once we've got this position, you might want to even walk your feet back a little closer to you. We're going to take a rotation with some strong core stability. So interlace your fingers down to the webbing. Reach your arms forward. Again, we want to feel like the lower belly is strong, and we want to feel the activity of the rib cage moving inward from the pelvic floor lifting upwards. Before we move further, let me give you a little analogy. So the pelvic floor is like a hammock sitting into the pelvis that is innervated so that it can become active and it can relax and release. When we breathe in, the pelvic floor settles down towards the base of the pelvic bowl, and let's say it's at level 1, and it can become active and it can move all the way up to level 5. You might even imagine like an elevator shaft running from behind your pubic bone all the way up to your belly button. Now with your next inhale, just allow the pelvic floor to relax down to level 1. That elevator shaft is at level 1. With your next exhale, we're going to bring the pelvic floor up to level 5. You might even use a strong exhale through the mouth to feel this. Make a sound like Then hold for a moment and then inhale, relax down to level 1. This time bring your pelvic floor up to level 3. Inhale back down to level 1. Exhale back up to level 3. Sustain level 3 as you inhale and exhale. Now this is strong core stability. Again, we're going to take the hands back out and we're going to interlace the fingers. We walk the heels a little closer. You might just come up onto your tippy toes, or maybe we can lift the feet off the floor. Russian twist. We're going to take the arms and the waist over to the right, back to center. To the left, back to center. Squeeze your knees towards each other. Right, back to center. Left, back to center. Right, back to center. Left, back to center. Again, right, back to center. Left, back to center. One more, right, back to center. Left, back to center. Release the feet down. Lengthen through your spine. And then we'll walk the feet slightly further forward. This time we're going to take hold of the backs of the legs. Shoulders back and down, long spine. Right leg comes up until the right heel is in line with right knee. You can flex your feet or you can point your toes lightly. Stabilize there. Pelvic floor is still at level 3 and we sustain that. And then up we come, left leg. Pelvic floor is still at level 3. Let's hold this position. Lengthen through your spine, rib cage drawing down. Toe taps. Right foot, toes come down to the floor, back up. Left foot, toes come down to the floor, back up. Right foot, left foot. Right foot, left foot. Right foot, left foot. Let's do one more either side. Right foot, left foot. Feet down. Relax for a moment, straight spine. Let's revisit all that. So we'll do Russian twist, 5 each side. We're going to do our boat pose and then we're going to do our toe taps. But this time, maybe not holding onto the backs of the legs. Let's just see how you go. It's always available that you can hold onto the backs of the legs for a little bit more stability. I'd rather you hold the backs of the legs than completely collapse down. So let's get ready. So we find the sit bones. We have the spine nice and long. Probably shoulders are a little bit back of the hips. That's fine as long as we maintain that the ribs aren't flaring forward and we're not over rounding the low back. So we have our spine in neutral. So when you're ready, we're going to lift your knees off the floor. Interlace your fingers in front. Twist to your right. Back to center. To your left. Back to center. Squeeze your knees together. Right and center, left and center, right and center, left and center, to the right, to center, to the left, to center, one more, right and center, left and center, feet down, straighten your spine. Walk the feet slightly further away, shoulders back. This time, left foot up first, stabilize. Right foot up second, stabilize. Maybe we want to let go. Toe taps, right foot, left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot, left foot. 2 more, right, left, right, left. Release. Teepee twist. Wrap your right arm around your shins. Left arm behind left seat. Rotate left. Change. Left arm wraps around both shins. Rotate right. And release. Straighten out your legs. Just sit in Dandasana for a moment. So find the sit bones. Shoulders are stacked above the hips, hands down beside you, but we're not taking weight into the arms. The elbows are soft. And just hold this upright position for a moment. Feel like you're pressing the legs down into the floor and you're growing. Your whole spine is getting longer and longer up towards the ceiling. And relax. Okay, from here, we're going to move into some back bending. So I am going to offer that you take a wheel. If wheel isn't available to you, you're going to take a bridge. So I'll talk you through both. Bend your knees, plant the soles of the feet on the floor. Take the seat a little closer to the heels, so the heels are underneath your knees. And then come down one forearm, other forearm, lie down on your back. So the back of the head is on the floor. The chin isn't so tucked down that we have a double chin. In fact, we find the double chin and come just out of it. Let's set up our neutral spine first. So collarbones are broad, like they're smiling. Outer edges of the upper arms are pressing down towards the floor. Hands are down beside you, palms face down. If you need to rearrange the feet in any way, feel free to do so. And then create a diamond shape with your hands. The fingers, tips of the index fingers come together, tips of the thumbs come together. And we place the tips of the fingers upon the pubic bone and the thumbs upon the navel. And just rock forward and back our pelvic tilt. We know pelvic tilt by now. Until we find a place, and you can check, where the tips of the index fingers, the tips of the thumbs and the heels of the hands are level. This puts our pelvis in a neutral position. Take the tips of the thumbs then to your 10th rib ridge, that rib that you can feel, and then sink, the first rib you can feel, and then sink your ribs down towards the pelvis, so then we get the spine back in its neutral position. Press the feet firmly into the floor. We're going to segment the spine to come away from the floor. So first, from this neutral, we move the lower back down towards the floor, so we're posterior or backward tilting. We slowly peel the spine off the floor, vertebrae by vertebrae, as if you're slowly peeling a piece of sellotape away from the floor. And then the pelvis comes up to a neutral position with the hips in line with the knees, but here we want a back bend. So we continue to lift the pelvis high and we arch the low back, lift the breastbone towards the throat. And then slowly coming down, vertebrae by vertebrae, vertebrae by vertebrae, vertebrae by vertebrae, coming all the way down until our pelvis rolls back into a neutral position. We're going to do this twice more. Some of you may continue to hold it for time afterwards. So again, we allow the lower back to sink down towards the floor. We peel the vertebrae off the floor. The feet are pressing down and almost pulling back towards your shoulders. We have activity in the buttocks. We come up so that the pelvis is in line with the knees, and then we go higher. Lift the pubic bone, lift the belly button, lift the breastbone. This is a back bend variation. And then we roll all the way back down. Vertebrae by vertebrae. Vertebrae by vertebrae, and down we come. One more time for some of us. We'll flatten the low back to the floor. We'll peel off vertebrae by vertebrae. And we lift the pubic bone, lift the breastbone, holding this back bend position. Heels are pulling back towards the shoulders. And we come back down vertebrae by vertebrae. Okay, so if this was challenging, you're going to stay with it. If you would like to progress to a wheel, which will be our inversion. So the wheel is an inversion and a back bend. The shoulder bridge in the back bend position, Setu Bandhasana, is also an inversion and a back bend. So either pose is just right. It really just depends on your degree of mobility and your degree of strength and how you're feeling today. If you happen to be menstruating, don't go near the wheel. If you are really tired, don't go near the wheel. Doesn't matter. Nice bridge. If you're menstruating, maybe just send your heels up towards the ceiling and relax there. Okay, if you want to take wheel with me, then we'll be taking the hands back so that the fingertips are underneath your shoulders. Fingertips are underneath your shoulders. And then the thumbs pressing back towards the back of your mat. to bring your elbows in. So the inner elbow is in line with the outer collarbone. So this means that our elbows aren't splaying wide. If you feel that you can't get your elbows to that position, I would say that we will continue to do some shoulder work until we can get our elbows in this position. So we will choose to come back down. We'll take another wheel and hold it for time. If we can get the arms in this position, then it still doesn't mean we have to push up. It just means that we're happy to have the arms in this position. So pressing thumbs back towards the back of the mat and squeezing your armpits now up towards the ceiling. Don't even move yet. Squeeze your armpits up towards the ceiling. A lot of work already in the chest. And relax. Let's do that again. Thumbs back towards the back of the mat. Squeeze your armpits up towards the ceiling. And relax. Do that again. Thumbs towards the back of the mat. Squeeze your armpits up towards the ceiling. And relax. Great. Now this time, we're going to use the bridge pose legs. So our pelvis will lift. We'll press the hands down into the floor and feel like we're pressing the thumbs towards the back of the mat. We'll squeeze our armpits up towards the ceiling. And maybe we can press the floor away to lift up onto the crown of the head. If that feels okay, we'll continue to lift up, and then the breastbone feels like it wants to move back between our arms, and our feet feel like they want to press forward towards the bottom of our mat. So we're lengthening the spine rather than just creating a very sharp angle in any of the vertebrae of the spine. I want a lovely arch in the spine. So let me talk you through that again, piece by piece. So if you're taking bridge, you know where you're going. You're just going to hold for time. You might even take 2 or 3. If you take the fingers underneath the shoulders and you can point your elbows up, then we're going to move into that position. Then, secondly, we're going to let the low back flatten to the floor and lift the pelvis up, just like we do in the bridge. Press the armpits up, press the hands down, maybe onto the crown of our head. Reset. Press into the feet. Lift the heart and then lengthen. So feet towards the bottom of the mat, breastbone towards the top of the mat. Hold the position for just 5 more breaths. And tuck your chin slowly down. Back of the head. Pelvis. Relax. Straighten your legs. Just release for a moment, please. Now let's just reset the pelvic region, the lower back region, by taking the knees back above the hips, hands to the front of the thighs, and press equally. Knees into hands, hands into knees. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then release your feet back down. Wonderful. Take your arms out to the side, shoulder height. And from here, we'll bring the knees either above the hips or a little closer towards the chest. Squeeze your knees together. Knees go to your left. Gaze goes to your right. And relax into a twist. Knees back up, look back up, knees go to your right, gaze goes to your left. Knees back up, gaze back up. Feet down towards the earth. So you might like to stay in supine rest position with the feet slightly wider than the knees and knees close together, hands down beside you, palms face up. That feels good to me right now after having done the back bend and reset. It feels nice to be here. Maybe you'd like to move into a full Shavasana. We will finish this practice with a loving kindness mantra, the metta practice of Tibetan Buddhism. This practice will be an internalized mantra that we offer to ourselves, and then we will offer to a loved one, and then we will offer to others that need it. So please just relax, let your body be held by the floor. healthy. May you be free from suffering. Continue the practice. Let your attention and awareness come away from the mantra and back to the physical body. Let the attention and awareness come back to the physical body. Begin to wiggle your fingers and wiggle your toes. Feel the sensation of wiggling your fingers and wiggling your toes. Move your arms and move your feet. Turn your head side to side. Take a big stretch and relax the arms back down. Bend your knees if they're not already bent and roll onto one side. You can rest on your side for as long as is available to you. Otherwise, come up to a seated position, eyes closed if you can. Hands meet your heart in prayer. May we be happy. May we be healthy. May we be free from suffering. Until we meet again, Shia Gon.